You are watching the SEC on ESPN. They're walking through the blue smoke. The Wildcats making their way on the floor. And you know, Big Blue Nation is excited to see that man. Lamont Butler will get the start today as 14th ranked Kentucky taking on South Carolina, looking for their first win in the SEC. What is up, everybody? Welcome here courtside alongside my guy. He's Damian Fishback. I'm John Schriffen. It feels like this is the get-right game. South Carolina looking for their first win here in the SEC. For Kentucky, they've lost 4 of their last 5, mainly due to injuries. Guys starting to get healthy again now.
Yeah, Schriff, when I look at this Kentucky team, there's a lot of things that they've struggled with, whether it's defensively, but the biggest story has been injuries, and they will be tested today because it's a South Carolina team that was 1 possession away from winning on the road at Vandy against Auburn and Florida. They will be tested today in this lineup.
I know you love highlighting the big man, and Amari Williams, he went off in Kentucky's last game. Just call him Mr. Triple-Double.
Hey, he messed around and got a triple-double. Amari Williams, the 3-time CAA Defensive Player of the Year, is actually displaying his all-around game, whether it's offense, distributing the basketball, or getting rebounds. He's been the best player on UK's team in their last couple of losses.
There we go, ready to tip it up here in Rupp Arena. And it is Kentucky wearing the home white, winning the tip. South Carolina coming out wearing the road garnet. Early tip, but with the way they get the pregame going here, the energy is flowing early on here in Lexington, Kentucky. Here's Lamont Butler, his first touch after missing 3 games with a shoulder injury. Williams inside, and the hook off the mark. Rebound to Colin Murray-Boyles. Early on offensively, what are you looking for out of South Carolina as we take a look at their starting 5?
Yeah, well, you look at Jamari Thomas, who's had 19, 19, and 15 the last 3 games. He is a guy who's got to continue to be aggressive, but I want to see the basketball going inside to Colin Murray-Boyles. Lamont Paris says he has to be aggressive today.
Look at the aggressiveness from Williams coming out that high hedge. 7 seconds on the shot clock for the Gamecocks.
And this type of situation can be a little bit more challenging because the Gamecocks are diligent and judicious in their offense. They've got to make a play here.
Inside they go, Zachary Davis. Had it stripped away, has to get it up with a shot clock. And there's a shot clock violation. Kentucky with a good defensive stand to start the game.
You hear that? That's Rupp Arena and Big Blue Nation saying, hey, defense has been our challenge. They're excited about seeing a stop in this first play.
Take it, Oweh, he will get his today. Leading this team in scoring with 16 points per game, but Butler in and out, gets to the rim, but can't finish. Kobe Wright in transition, had it pinned by Oweh, but they're going to say count the bucket. That's a goaltend, and Mark Pope cannot believe it.
They'll have an opportunity to go back and review the basket at the under 16 timeout. That's why you see officials call it a lot more. It was already blocked the first time. We'll see what they say. I don't think that they'll call it a go team, but we'll see after the under 4 timeout if they count the basket or not. Most importantly, look at Lamont Butler though, Shriv. In practice yesterday, his left shoulder is what's been bothering him. Let's keep an eye on his ability to use that left shoulder. He was a little tentative yesterday.
Backdoor cut, Robinson goes reverse and it rolls out. Thomas, a little hesitation, takes the bump, and he can't finish. A slow start here in Lexington. Jamari Thomas is another guy who has missed plenty of time. Missed 4 games with a right knee sprain. They were thankful that it was just a knee sprain, as you see that huge brace on that right knee for Jamari Thomas.
Yeah, newcomer of the year and MEAC player of the year at Norfolk State. He has the ability to manufacture points in a hurry.
There's Butler trying to turn the corner. That's good D by Wright. Kentucky looking for their first bucket almost 2 minutes here into the game.
Yeah, South Carolina's really physical with their sets right now, pushing through screens, making sure the Cats feel them.
7-footer Williams goes to his left, and it's Pringle with the board. This is a South Carolina team, 0-9 in the SEC. But you talked about in the open, so many tight, close losses. Vandy, Florida, Auburn, they have been in ball games. As Butler looking to run. Euro step, slows it down. And another one rolling off the rim for Kentucky, but it'll stay here with the Wildcats.
And Shrift, this is what we were talking about with the Gamecocks. You think about Auburn, the #1 team in the nation currently, one possession game, winnable game at Vandy, who knocked off 2 top 10 teams. Florida took a last-second shot for them to lose that game overtime against Chris Jans and Mississippi State, and of course Buzz Williams played extremely well. Texas A&M, they have been right there. And this is a much better team, probably the best 0-9 team in college basketball.
Robinson rising up, and he misses. When we were at practice yesterday with Lamont Paris in his 3rd year as the head coach, wasn't he optimistic? Wasn't he so positive? But a turnover here as Kentucky now with some numbers. Oweh protects the ball, and Kentucky's on the board.
And that's what you got to see. If you're Wildcat fans, your defense is connected to your offense. You have to be able to get stops so you can get out and see some of your athleticism, this long list of prolific shooters that you have as well.
The foul is on Williams. That's his first on the team's first.
So foul called against Amari Williams. That'll be his first.
Number 15, Morris Ugasu. For Kentucky.
Brandon Garrison will check into the game for the first time as Williams gets a breather. And Morris Ugasu, the sharpshooter from Helsinki, Finland, will step on the floor for the first time for South Carolina. Here's Pringle going one-on-one, strip going up, gathers the ball, lowers his shoulder, and still puts it in. Nick Pringle, the 6'10 grad student from Seabrook, South Carolina. And now Kentucky gets it across the timeline.
Very early in this game, officials allowed it to be a physical game. That plays to the hands of South Carolina. Good toughness and grit shown by Nick Pringle. I would go back to the paint if I was the Gamecocks right now.
Hard screen by Murray Boyles. Getting his own miss, no good is Davis. And that'll be Kentucky ball. How about Pringle finishing in traffic?
Yeah, you're talking about the transfer from Alabama, who's already been to the Final Four. He's a veteran, but this is what you got to see more of. Tenacity, continuing to attack the basket. You can't worry about the officials. You have to go out and play to the level that you're capable of playing at if you're Nick Pringle.
So some more offensive firepower coming on the floor for Kentucky as Kobe Brea checks in for the first time. How do the Wildcats get on track here offensively?
Well, right now they're doing a pretty good job of being patient in their sets, but South Carolina's physical. They're knocking them off of their spots. And right now Kentucky's settling. They've had a few good looks. Amari Williams, they just got to be poised. But this is the end, Shrift. You got to get stops to get out in transition.
Murray Boyles can't finish. That was good D by Butler.
Here you go. You need a push here.
Here goes Oweh, and he lost the handle. Turnover.
Just careless.
Ball handling has been an issue for Kentucky over this stretch recently. Inside Murray Boyles, and a hard close, foul called against Oweh. Stepping aside, South Carolina up early.
The foul is on Oweh. That's his first on the team's second.
Kentucky got off to a hot start this season, 14-3. The injuries started to creep in, and then defensive issues began to start. They're 1-4 in their last 5 games. But, Damian, I want you to talk about what has been going right for Kentucky.
Yes, Riff, let's take a look, because one of the things that Kentucky has continued to do in spite of those injuries is when they do get stops, get out in transition. Take a look up top at Kobe Brea, and then you've got 4 Ole Miss defenders behind them. You've got to sprint and get out into transition. When they do that before the defense sets up, those prolific shooters can knock down baskets. Second of all, the sets of Mark Pope have always been great. You see he has 3 offensive players lifted high, which allows the
After further
curl.
review, the goaltend called 1844 has been confirmed. 2 points for South Carolina.
Which allowed the easy curl and the basket. And we just talked to official Orlando Poole, and he said the reason why the goaltend was confirmed was because it was already on the backboard. So it did still have an opportunity to go in the basket, which is the reason why it was called a goaltending call.
The officials today, Jeb Hartless, Orlando Poole, and Patrick Evans. So the score remains 4-2 South Carolina. It's Colin Murray Boyles inside, missing close. And a nice job by Andrew Carr off the bench, saves it, and it'll be Kentucky ball.
Well, Andrew Carr, the transfer from Wake Forest, one of the huge pieces that I love for Kentucky. has been dealing with back injuries. He dealt with a knee injury in the offseason, but he looks as healthy as that I've seen him in a long time. He's got to make himself active in this game today.
Foul away from the ball on Murray Boyles. I asked this Kentucky coaching staff about Andrew Carr before the game, just how he's feeling, and he said, yeah, the back is still bothering him. It's still a little sore, but this is February in the SEC. Everybody's a little banged up this time of year, and he's going to give it a go. Carr posting up. He's calling for it inside, and they don't see him. Backdoor cut, Robinson. Fadeaway jumper, tough shot. Carr, backside board, keeps it alive. There goes Robinson probing, throwing it up at the rim. And Garrison finishing, we're tied at 4.
Yeah, the 6'10", 250-pound sophomore out of Oklahoma City shows his nice hands and presence. He can give them more inside as well.
Murray Boyles, he will try a 3, and it rattles in. Leads this team in scoring over 15 points per game.
First round draft pick is so consistent, like a stock dividend. You know what you're going to get with him. He'll have to continue to play well this evening.
There goes Carr on the roll. Look at the footwork inside from the big man. Three ball going up for Conyers. Short, batted off the backboard, and put up and in from Zachary Davis.
Zachary Davis, 6'7", 200-pound junior. One of those guys that knows what Lamont Paris expects from him. See, Shrift, that's the kind of pressure I'm talking about. Pressuring on every handoff, making it tough to go through screens.
Well, Robinson had to deal with the point guard duties for so many games with Butler and Kriisa, who is still out with an injury. Good pass inside as he finds Garrison for 2 more.
Pretty. Told Robinson before the game, I think he's a guy that can play at the next level. He's got to continue to play through the physicality of the SEC. He does a nice job there.
Murray Boyles with 2 defenders on him, finishing with it left. How about that strong take?
What we call a grown man move by Colin Murray Boyles. Every bit of 6'8" and 245 pounds.
Kentucky has hit their last 3 shots from the floor. It's Brea's turn now. Off balance, but the soft touch and it falls.
One of the best three-point shooters in the SEC. When he's able to use the shot fake to get by his defenders, he becomes a lot more dangerous.
Right, just goes by Robinson. But it was good help by Carr to force that miss. It feels like Kentucky's getting in the flow of their offense now. They've hit their last 4 shots from the floor. 10 seconds on the shot clock for the Wildcats as Robinson will set something up. Pick and roll with Garrison, and Wright will be called for the hold.
Yeah, well, you're right. Kentucky is getting into their flow. This is a nice set by Mark Pope off of the handout. You see how he's got everyone on the opposite side. We call that the naked ball screen or handoff because nobody's on that side to defend defensively. A nice job by Kobe Brea noticing that, and Zachary Davis got over much too late to defend Carr.
Mark Pope is just loved here in Lexington. Going out last night, people talking about how they just are so excited to have him here. Hoping they get back on track here with this game here today.
Well, he's one of their own, right?
Brea, here's a deep one. Okay! Kobe Brea gives Kentucky the lead.
Did somebody take the lid off? Did we get the lid coming off here and rough a little bit? All it takes for a good shooter is one to go down.
And here come the fans inside Rupp Arena. Thomas did not get bailed out there. A good possession defensively for Kentucky. There goes Butler trying to get downhill. Rolling pass off the mark, turnover.
Kobe Brea. We talk about a lot of big-time shooters in the SEC. Wade Taylor, Caleb Grill, but Kobe Brea, the transfer from Dayton, says, don't forget about me. My range starts when I walk in the state of Kentucky.
Kentucky fans have so much personality. I had a little trouble getting into the venue here today.
Just a little bit.
A little trouble.
You made it.
But one of the fans behind our booth saw it. He was like, they made you get out and they wouldn't let you in. He goes, that's not Southern hospitality. Big Blue Nation, you guys take things to the next level. Dude offered me a free detail next time I come here to Lexington. He goes, that's not how you should be treated coming in the building. He said, that's not how we treat people coming to Kentucky. You know what? I love that.
Well, let me tell you something. South Carolina didn't treat Kentucky well when they first started, but Kentucky turned it around, 1 of 10, and then since then went 5 of 5. And you were right. Kentucky has the most passionate fan base in all of college basketball.
So cool.
Each and every day you get 20+ thousand. And what I would say is the fan base that we saw as a nation against Arkansas is a fan base they should display all the time. It was just energetic from start to finish. If they do that, it'll be hard to win games in Rupp Arena for opponents.
So what South Carolina does coming out of the timeout. Jacob Wright open from the wing, left it short. Pringle, offensive rebound. And that's the defensive pressure from Amari Williams, the 7-footer, forcing that miss.
Well, give credit to Nick Pringle. He's a guy who missed a couple of free throws against Auburn in that loss. He had, some down moments, but I think he's having a terrific year, the transfer from Alabama. He's putting a lot of pressure on himself, but the mindset, the energy, and effort is much better for the Gamecocks and him now.
Butler just took his eye off the ball there, so a turnover, and it goes back to the Gamecocks. Pringle's a guy also had that big game against Clemson, so they know he has those moments where he can just go at an opposing big, but they're looking for a little more consistency out of him.
Well, you expect that from your veteran guys, right? When I went to practice, I saw South Carolina before the season started, one of many teams, but I said, listen, Coach Parrish, you have a front line that should be able to compete with anybody in the country because of the culinary boys and the transfer. They've got to continue to prove that in the best league in college basketball.
We played almost 10 minutes here in Rupp. It's Kentucky with a 2-point lead. Thomas getting downhill. Now Brea leading the breakout.
Good defensive transition that time by the Gamecocks.
7-footer on 7-footer. Williams throwing the shoulder, but it was Butler winning that battle. Davis crossover, might have taken an extra step there, but Williams pulls it down.
But see, this is what I'm talking about. Against the better defensive teams, what Butler's doing, that's what they missed. They need a better push offensively. They're taking too long to get up the floor. They run terrific sets, but you've got to get out in transition the better the defensive teams are.
Williams had his pass deflected. That's Pringle, and then he gets on the floor, and a jump ball is called. Possession arrow goes to South Carolina. You mentioned that practice for South Carolina yesterday that we both asked. What stood out was the intensity. This is a team coming off of a week layoff. They haven't played in a while. And so Lamont Paris has made sure that the energy, the excitement has still been there. Also, he focused on 4-minute intervals this past week in practice because he feels like it's that 4-minute stretch towards the end of the game that they feel like they need to work on.
Yeah, sure. The first thing I noticed in practice yesterday was how physical that South Carolina was playing. And that's been the recipe when you play the Kentucky Wildcats. Even though they've beaten, physical teams like Tennessee and like Texas A&M, if you allow them just to go wherever they want offensively, they're almost unstoppable. Averaging 85 points per game in conference play versus South Carolina, only 63. So you see thus far what type of game this is. If you're the Wildcats, you've got to increase the pace of this game. You've got to get a better flow.
Let's see if it starts here, this possession for Kentucky, with 9 minutes to play in this first half. Here's Robinson, hand in his face, and it doesn't matter. Knocks down the three. Just the second three today for Kentucky.
Nice. Good pass by Ansley Almanor.
And there's Brea ripping it away for the steal. He gets it back, pulls from deep.
And that's the push we're talking about.
11-0 run for Kentucky. This is the offense that Big Blue Nation has been waiting to see. We will step away and come back to Rupp after this.
Back here at Rupp Arena, where the Wildcats have started to get comfortable. Watch Ansley Almanor there. He absorbs the contact from Colin Murray-Boyle's nice assist and distribution to Jackson Robinson. And then this is what we're talking about, Trip. Look at that defense. That defense is going to lead to offense. And then there's that pass ahead, and that's where the Wildcats can be lethal in transition. Let's remember, last year, Alabama finished 2, according to Kim Palm, in their offensive efficiency and a 111 in defensive efficiency, still made it to the Final Four. Kentucky struggling defensive this year, but number 2 in Kim Palm's adjusted offensive efficiency. They can still make a run this season.
Oh, you better believe it. Kobe Brea, he is a shooter when he steps on the floor. He has scored 8 of the last 11 Kentucky points. Murray Boyles in the pick and roll. And his 3 comes in and out. Ugasu keeps it alive. Back to Murray Boyles, and he'll be fouled and get to the free throw line.
See, that's where I would like the first-round draft pick from Colin Murray Boyles to just go straight to the rim. And one thing about Colin Murray Boyles, he's got outstanding size. We mentioned it earlier, 6'8", every bit of 245, solid. But a lot of times, I think he's a little too nice, a little too unselfish, not being aggressive and attacking. I love it. And Lamont Paris actually told us that yesterday. He said Colin Murray Boyles had 16 shots, and he told him, hey, you probably missed about 4 or 5 shots you could have taken. We need you to take those shots.
Can you imagine your coach telling you, I want you to get at least 20 shots a game? How excited you would have been?
Loved it.
But he's such a nice young man that he wants to get his teammates involved. And Lamont Paris says, you need to be a little more selfish. Seven-point lead for Kentucky. Backdoor cut, Robinson, and he can't finish reverse.
Yeah, indecisive that time.
Murray Boyles, he's starting to call for it now. You know he's starting to feel it. Kick out 3-ball off the mark. Carr, nice box out as the rebound goes to Robinson. Now he'll step into a 3. It's so fun to watch underneath as the shot goes up. How much contact. Guys are just finding bodies trying to get a rebound.
Yeah, talking about UFC fights, right? It's like that in the paint every single Saturday in the SEC.
There's Murray Boyles going against Garrison. And he's got 2 more. He's got 8 points to lead the way for South Carolina.
Nice job of Colin Murray Boyles keeping his focus against the 6'10", 250-pound sophomore, giving up a couple of inches inside.
So South Carolina has answered this 11-0 run for Kentucky as a kick ball is called against Thomas.
Yeah, this is important when you're a big man inside, Shrift. Make sure that you're patient. Does a nice job of keeping that right pivot foot down. I know Rupp Arena wanted to walk, did not move it. That's one of the reasons why he's so good. 8 points, 3 rebounds, very efficient here in this first half. He's going to need to do that for the entire game for South Carolina to try to pull off the upset.
He shoots almost 60% from the floor, and that is #1 in the SEC. Carr cannot get around Murray Boyles, holding his ground, the turnaround jumper off the mark.
I like Mark Pope calling the play for Andrew Carr to go at him and make him work defensively. If you're Carr, though, you've got to be aggressive. You've got to go into the body of Colin Murray Boyles, not fade away.
Cam Scott comes to a jump stop. As Thomas creates contact, he thought he was going up, but the refs say foul on the floor against Kobe Brea, his first.
As for Jamari Thomas, he's been looking for that foul this entire first half. He's 0 of 4 on the afternoon, but he's been really trying to establish contact. We'll see how he continues to move as Lamont Butler, one of the best defenders in the SEC, now on him.
I apologize, that last foul called against Carr, not Brea.
Nice job of Butler getting through the screens. Good work defensively right now by the Wildcats.
Here's Scott, long two. And a fight for the rebound, kept alive, and two more as Murray Boyles in double figures with 10. That was kept alive by Benjamin Bozeman-Verdonk.
And that's just South Carolina being tougher, being grittier, wanting it more than the Wildcats. You've got to complete the defensive possession with the defensive rebound.
Carr, pull-up jumper, and he'll be fouled and get to the line.
Foul is on Murray Boyles. That's his second and the team's third.
So the foul called against Murray Boyles, that is now his second personal, and we'll see if South Carolina decides to leave him on the floor.
Carr on the line for two.
Carr missed that Vanderbilt game due to back injury, was limited to 90 seconds at Tennessee, where Kentucky was still able to pull off a victory this season.
The nation's #1 men's basketball team highlights our Tuesday doubleheader on the SEC Network and the ESPN app. It starts with Janai Broome leading the top-ranked Tigers against Vandy at 7 Eastern, 6 Central. How good is Auburn this year?
Well, listen, best team in college basketball. Only lost on the road at Cameron Indoor against Cooper Flagg and the Duke Blue Devils after the Maui trip. But we know that the Commodores have knocked off a couple of top 10 teams. Tennessee, Kentucky, in the Memorial Majestic Gymnasium. So that will be an interesting game as well.
Here's Butler, get that out of here. Oh, they called a foul. That's going to go against Carr, and it'll be his second.
Like the transfer from Missouri, going up to the basket strong. And you know what? If Andrew Carr keeps his hands straight up, he doesn't get that foul call, but he brings them forward just enough. Got a lot of ball, but when you bring those hands forward, even when you jump straight up, the majority of the time you're going to get the foul called against you.
Jordan Butler, the sophomore from Greenville, South Carolina, spent his first year at Missouri. And Lamont Paris said he's one of those guys we just need to get more out of. He's got that body at 7 feet tall. He's got that good-looking shooting stroke.
Yep.
Just be a little more aggressive.
Well, he was ranked as the #2 player in South Carolina, a 4-star prospect. So the body's there, the potential's there. The Gamecocks are just trying to get it out of him right now.
0 for 2 from the line, but swatted that one from Oweh. So let's see where the offense comes from without Murray Boyles on the floor for South Carolina with 2 fouls.
Amari Williams doing a nice job on this mismatch, keeping his hand up, using his height and length.
Nice recovery. Butler batted that out of bounds. It'll be 11 seconds on the shot clock for South Carolina.
You know, just the presence of Lamont Butler is making an instantaneous difference for the Kentucky Wildcats. He's the head of the snake, talking about guys that have been to the Final Four. He's a guy who I think, along with Otega Oweh, is their toughest player. And you see Martin Pope just trying to educate Otega Oweh on that sideline.
Five on the shot clock as Thomas takes a peek. Now at 3. Gets a little space and somehow gets it to go over Carr.
Yeah, huge basket by the transfer from Norfolk State, and South Carolina not going anywhere.
No field goals in almost 4 minutes for Kentucky now. Carr inside the paint, left it short, batted around, rebound goes to Noah. Trent Noah, the freshman, getting more and more playing time because of the injuries. And Williams will draw the foul far away from the basket on Bozeman-Verdonk.
Nice job of Amari Williams playing through the contact. And let's look at Jamari Thomas here. He uses that left shoulder to get a little bit of space between him and Andrew Carr, and then uses the quick floater to go over the outstretched hands of the 6'11", 235-pound graduate senior in Andrew Carr.
There goes Carr. You can tell he is on a mission right now looking for some help. Gets it back, straight on, 3-ball, got it.
Pretty basketball. There was a lot of hands by South Carolina, but I like the officials letting them play through it. They didn't let it disrupt their offense that time.
The offense is going to go through Jamari Thomas now. As a wild one off the backboard, here come the Wildcats. Noah, 3.
Noah, with the aggressiveness of his grandfather, who played football here at Kentucky in the early 60s. He said, I'm in, I'm ready to go. He's a shooter, though. I like that shot.
Thomas missing, and Noah with the board. Inside the Carr, he's got that huge mismatch and makes him pay.
Once again, transition baskets, getting out early before the stifling defense of the Gamecocks is set up.
Not hit the backboard, it did not hit the basket, excuse me, and the shot clock incorrectly reset, so the officials on top of it, that is a shot clock violation.
Hey, Wildcat fans know their basketball, and they know good basketball when they see it and appreciate it. Trent Noah, good penetration. Jordan Butler too late on the pushback, and a nice job of Wildcats playing some string music. We're going to hold on to him as long as we can before they pull him back out.
Oh, because you know it's going to happen.
No doubt, no doubt.
Alongside Damian Fishback, I'm John Schriffen. What have you liked from Kentucky so far in this first half with Lamont Butler back in action for the Wildcats?
Well, two things. Number one, and Coach Green talked about it, the fact that they're getting out in transition by getting defensive stops. Right now, they're winning the rebounding war by 1, but you have to complete the defensive stop with the possession or with a defensive rebound. Second of all, the pop from their bench. They actually have 21 of their 26 points off of their bench today, which is fabulous. So you're talking about a nice pop because Lamont Butler started. And so you've got guys like Brandon Garrison, Kobe Brea, and Andrew Carr, Trent Noah. You know, he hadn't scored, but he's distributing the basketball. So that's a pop that they now have. Along with the starting of Lamont Butler, they have depth as well.
Carr's got 9, Brea's got 8 off the bench, and South Carolina not a single point off the bench scored so far here today.
However, South Carolina 8-1 when holding teams to 70. This looks like that could be a huge possibility in this game if they continue to defend.
Here's Brea. Nice screen from Garrison.
He was a little too open. He was like, whoa, I got a little extra time here. As a player, you just want to shoot that in the flow, keep your rhythm.
Looks like South Carolina's going to go the remainder of this half without Murray Boyles on the bench with 2 fouls. That means Pringle got to go to work. Gets his own miss, rejected, but Garrison was out of bounds, 18 on the shot clock.
So for Nick Pringle, he has great size. You know, he's 6'10", 225 pounds. You've got to take your time. As a big man, even as a guard, great guards, they don't rush on the interior. They don't worry about their shot getting blocked. Take your time, put your eye on the basket, on that square, and put it in the rim. Or if you're Nick Pringle, just go up and try to dunk the basketball, and you'll typically score or get fouled.
Well, the leading and second leading scorers for South Carolina on the bench with Murray Boyles and Thomas. So here's Ugasu, his shot off the mark. Brea, the no-look pass inside. What a dime to Garrison.
Unbelievable job of continuing to get those stops, get out and run. Their offense is as much connected on this end of the floor as it is running those sets that Mark Pope runs for Kentucky.
Largest lead of the game, Kentucky's up 10. Bozeman for dunk, and he will be fouled.
Shrift, once again, if you get those stops, now it's a track meet. You see Kobe Brea on the other side. I love that advanced pass. And look at the big fella, Brandon Garrison, running the floor, and you reward those big guys when they run the floor as such.
7-0 run for the Wildcats. Pick and roll with Pringle. Kentucky went for the steal. Here's Wright. Ugasuk from the corner, 3. Pringle, rebound. Had it swatted by Garrison, but the late whistle. Garrison, his first personal. As you know, it's physical inside.
It's a grown man's league, and absolutely Garrison gets him on the back of the head. But again, if you're Kentucky, your problem isn't as much getting defensive stops as completing the stop with the defensive rebound. And I'm sure Coach Mark Pope will tell the Wildcats that going forward. With that being said, one of the reasons why the Gamecocks are getting offensive rebounding lanes is because of the way they're moving the basketball. As you continue to move the basketball from left to right, the defense becomes broken, which allows offensive rebounding lanes.
You know better than anybody the physicality of the SEC. That has always been in the conference. But what's changed? Because the SEC went to another level this season.
Well, the biggest change is that you don't have any nights off. There used to be 3 teams that came out of the SEC at one point, you know, let's say 10 years ago, that were going to the tournament. Now, believe it or not, if South Carolina went on the run, they could still get in the tournament because it's the best non-conference that you've ever seen in the SEC. That's the biggest difference, is no nights off.
1 minute to play here in the first half at Rupp Arena. Williams going 1 on 2. He says, give me that plus the foul.
I like the young fella. Got a little swag to him. You know, South Carolina's being physical, and Amari Williams didn't say anything. He just gave him a look like, you know, I can take this physical play if you want to play like that. And the difference is he goes into the contact versus going away from the contact.
What he has done over this recent stretch with all the injuries, Kentucky coaching staff said that he has been the leader of this team. At 7 feet tall, he's been the point guard of this team. And he has really taken on the load as he looks to go to the line to try to convert this 3-point play.
Yeah, you're exactly right. You think about people who have gotten a triple-double in the history of the Kentucky Wildcats, or people that have gotten triple-doubles anyway, especially for him as a big, getting it via assists. You look at those other names, Chris Mills, De'Aaron Fox still doing a phenomenal job in the NBA, and Isaiah Briscoe, one of my favorite players in Kentucky Wildcat history.
Ugasuk missing another one. And that'll be off Pringle, Kentucky ball.
You know, talking to coaches, Shrift, they said that the SEC is one of the best leagues in college basketball, not just rebounding the basketball, but tipping the basketball out. Teams that you see do that, the Florida Gators, Auburn Tigers, obviously Texas A&M Aggies, Tennessee, those physical teams that go to the offensive glass on a regular basis, they not only can rebound, but can tip it out to their teammates as well.
45 seconds left in this first half. Butler working the pick and roll, throwing it up, and Williams goes and gets it. Thomas back on the floor. Right, catch and shoot. And South Carolina is 0 for their last 9 from the floor.
Yeah, scoreless in the last 5 minutes now for the Gamecocks. Give credit to Kentucky being solid defensively, a momentum opportunity here.
Final seconds in the first half. Oweh with 4 on the clock. Now it's at 2. Got to get it up. Oweh shot is off the mark. Over the last almost 6 minutes to end that first half, Kentucky outscored South Carolina 14-3.
Woo! Pretty basketball by the Wildcats for the Gamecocks. You got to come out in the second half, see some shots fall down, and continue to stay solid defensively.
It's the Wildcats with a 33-19 lead over South Carolina at the half. We will step aside. With a 33-19 lead at the half over South Carolina, still looking for their first win in the SEC. What's up, everybody? Welcome back courtside alongside my guys, Damian Fishback. I'm John Schriffen. All right, Kentucky opened up that lead the last 5 minutes of that first half. What stood out for you?
Well, first of all, they took care of the basketball much better, which is great because that's one of the reasons why they got off to a slow first start at Ole Miss. But more importantly, defensively, they were sound, Shrip. They did a nice job of allowing their defense to lead into offense. Look at the contesting on the shots here. South Carolina 1 of 11, but once they contest, then they can get out and run the floor. Brandon Garrison doing a nice job of getting out. Here it is. Look at them being testy defensively. So what do you have now? A broken defense. Cam Scott too late on the closeout from a prolific shooter like Brea. And then once again, even though it's a mismatch, Andrew Carr is able to get out and get a stop against Jamari Thomas. And now they can read the defense. They've got a mismatch because of the stop up and over the top. Using his size, Andrew Carr has a nice finish. All getting out in transition, which all starts defensively, Schriffen.
Talked about defensively. The last two games, what the amount of points they've given up, but today, 19 points is the second low of half scoring for South Carolina this season.
Wow.
A big reason for that, Colin Murray-Boyles, leading this team in scoring, picked up his second personal foul with 5:42 to play in that first half. The score was 19-16. After he went to the bench with that second foul, Kentucky closed the first half on a 14-3 run.
Yeah, and for Kentucky, we mentioned it a little bit earlier, when they don't turn over the basketball, they're so elite offensively, then it just gives them more opportunities. And so it's easy to guard offensive sets if they only get, let's say, 10, 15 attempts. But when you're taking care of the basketball, and as good as South Carolina is defensively, and then you lose the likes of a Colin Murray-Boyles, who's an anchor, a pillar to this Gamecock team, it makes it really hard, and that's why Kentucky was able to go on that run.
We have seen South Carolina this season come back from big deficits to make it interesting in the second half. Kentucky with the first possession here. As Lamont Butler, who just joining us, got the start today. As Williams inside close, as Kentucky opens up a 35-19 lead.
You see the difference between Amari Williams, though, and Nick Pringle. Amari Williams took his time. He focused on the goal, on the basket, not the defender. That's what Nick Pringle has to do on the other end.
Almost a 5-minute scoring drought. No field goals for South Carolina. Davis bottled up inside, and Oweh with the strip. Butler lowers that shoulder. Looks pretty good.
Yeah, he's starting to look like he's getting healthy, which is a good sign for a Big Blue Nation. And for South Carolina, you cannot allow the Wildcats to run away with this basketball game. You've got to get stops on this end so that you can get your defense set on the other end.
Butler missed the last 3 games with a left shoulder injury, getting the start here today. And a little too much contact as Oweh called for his second.
Lamont Butler, one of the toughest players and the head of the snake, does a nice job of going into the defense, right? Jamari Thomas, he has a size advantage over him, and he goes into the defense, not away from the defense, to secure the basket.
And you notice what shoulder that was.
Yeah.
That was right. That left shoulder. Kentucky blitzing the ball. Thomas has to give it up. Pringle inside, and Butler commits the foul.
Much better job, though. Nick Pringle went up to the basket, wasn't focusing on the foul, was focused on the rim, and was able to draw the foul against Lamont Butler.
Pringle at the line for 2.
You see Nick Pringle, 90% free throw rate nationally, according to Ken Pom, 90.3%.
There's a man who gets fouled inside and gets himself to the free throw line.
which should make you even more lethal, right? He's got to be an even better asset to the basketball team. And before he actually missed those free throws against Auburn, he was shooting like 78, 80% since starting off the year pretty rocky. I think he started off the year maybe 5 or 17. And so that hurt his confidence a little bit. He's back now.
And Butler spinning through 2 defenders. He will get to the free throw line. How different is this team with a healthy Lamont Butler?
Yeah, I mean, you think about him. He was midseason second-team All-American selection. And so that just shows you he's one of the best players in college basketball. He's got a plethora of experience. The run that they were able to make at San Diego State was as good as you've seen in college basketball. So he sets the tone defensively. And then offensively, I believe he's their best in being able to get to the rim and create for himself and others. And Mark Pope mentioned the fact that he's never not had 2 point guards. So Carr, Kriisa, and Lamont Butler were out. That's what made it so difficult.
It's one thing if you're out a big man, one thing with you out a shooting guard, but to not have your point guard setting the table. Thomas is bumped. And the foul called against Amari Williams, his second personal.
Well, Jamari Thomas, we mentioned it earlier, was the 2024 MEAC Player of the Year, also Newcomer of the Year. But he was also on the MEAC All-Defensive Team. He's rough, he's rugged, he likes the contact and doesn't shy away from it.
Well, Lamont Paris also admitted to us that they've tweaked the offense as Thomas strains the 3. They're trying to get the ball in his hands more to make better decisions.
Well, and you can see why, right? He is a guy who can manufacture points in a hurry, and for the Gamecocks, it's important for them to try to close this gap back to single digits.
Robinson lets the defense fly by and cans the 3. More natural playing off the ball as Robinson had to have a lot of the point guard duties with the injuries. Murray Boyles playing through the contact. Thomas, the defender on his hip, and he finishes.
Like this young fella. Only 5'11", and 190 pounds, but he's rough and rugged like a running back. He plays bigger than he is.
Robinson with a defender down. There's Almanor. As Pringle cleans the glass. A chance for South Carolina with the stop. Try to get back in this one. As Thomas starting to heat up. But it's Robinson taking it away. Nope, he was out of bounds. It stays with South Carolina.
And Jackson Robinson grabbing the right wrist. Both he and Lamont Butler were game-time decisions. Tweaked it yesterday in contact and practice. I hope he's going to be okay, playing through a little pain. And as you mentioned earlier, you're right, especially in the SEC, come February, there are nicks and knacks on every college basketball player. But that right wrist, his shooting wrist, is something that is challenging for a shooting guard. He showed some toughness here today.
He is 2 of 5 from beyond the arc with 6 points as he goes to the bench. And a kickball called against Kentucky. Boyles, let's see what he decides to do. Gives it up. Thomas, catch and shoot.
Solid. Again, allows their offense to get out. And this is where they're really good as well. Their half-court execution when they're able to move and get to their sets.
Brea used the screen from Garrison. Now the skip pass to Oweh. 8 on the shot clock. It is denied by Pringle.
That's what you expect to see from a veteran in the SEC.
Now here goes Pringle at the other end as South Carolina trying to come back in it.
Well, they're definitely doing that. And you saw Mark Fox that was on the sideline talking to Jackson Robinson a little bit earlier, former Georgia head coach. right now they're going to need everybody today.
Good cut, but it's denied by Murray Boyles in South Carolina with numbers. Skip pass, Thomas, he will step into one. And it's Brea cleaning the glass.
Would have been a huge basket for South Carolina there.
Brea will hoist it.
So you notice the difference. You see Jamari Thomas, he holds up. They don't want this game to get into a track meet. They want to sparingly run, attack on their terms only. And then when the defense is set, they want to continue to move the floor, take time off the clock.
Wraparound pass, David somehow finding Pringle. And the lead is down to 11.
Mark Pope deciding to get a timeout here, and I like this. Been an incredible run and response by South Carolina. Nick Pringle, 6'10", 225 pounds, saying no way, Otega Oweh, denied inside. And on the other end, he gets down and with the nice two-handed flush and finish here in Rupp Arena. He was able to take that courage, and again, that makes impact on future generations. And what he had to deal with and the fact of how he dealt with it is something that we all look up to and appreciate.
Oh, what he has done for South Carolina is incredible. Also, I don't think we give enough praise to Dawn Staley, what she has done, not just for South Carolina, and congratulations on the new contract extension, well-deserved, but what she has done for the women's game overall. She has elevated every single program in the nation because of what she has done.
Well said.
Brea driving baseline, dish off, and Garrison finishes at the rim.
Kobe Brea showing a full arsenal of his game. We always talk about the fact that he's such a good shooter. We've seen him take it on the basket in the first half, now distributing the basketball. That's something that the Wildcats need.
4 assists now for Kobe Brea. As Thomas is blitzed, double team, keeps that pivot foot down. Inside, Murray Boyles sending it back is Garrison. Carr calling for it. And it's going to be Scott with the hold inside. Kentucky looking to extend that lead once again, up 13 here at Rupp Arena. All right, Fish, you got your finger on the pulse, not just the SEC, but what's going on around the nation. What's going on in news and notes?
Well, the top two are continuing to dominate. Duke doing it in the ACC, Auburn doing it in the SEC. Longest active D1 win streaks currently at 14 and 16. How about Coach Rick Pitino? 10 straight wins. That's right, longest streak since 84, 85. He and Kadari Richmond with a huge win on the road in hostile environment against UConn, who still is in the running for a three-peat. Lynn McNeely back. And then last but not least, the Blue Bloods in unfamiliar territory. That's right, the game is changing now. Players are going all over the places. You got coaching changes, but guess what? Kentucky, UConn, still right there to compete for a national championship. North Carolina, though, outside looking in currently, going to have to continue to fight Hubert Davis and the Tar Heels to continue to get in the tournament with very few winning opportunities in the ACC.
Is St. John's the team that people aren't talking about enough nationally?
Well, they're talking about them now, yeah, after going in and knocking off Marquette and UConn and dominating the Big East. But I think this Kentucky team, you know, this last week loss against Ole Miss, and, you know, I think it's something that they're kind of forgetting about. This Kentucky team is still right there. They got to continue to defend and get healthy, and they'll compete.
A little too much pushing inside as the foul called against Andrew Carr.
The foul is on Carr. That's his third.
That'll be his third personal. A 13-point lead. Over 13 minutes to play in the second half. What does South Carolina have to do to get back into this one?
Yeah, sure, they've got to get hot defensively, which is hard to do against a quality offensive team like Mark Pope's Kentucky Wildcats, because they can beat you in so many ways offensively. But this is a way to get it started by Davis. Nice finish and nice out-of-bounds set by Coach Lamont Paris.
The lead is now down to 11. Here's the defensive pressure from the Gamecocks. Thomas fighting over that screen as Robinson, but he reached down, and he admits that he called for the foul. That is his second.
The foul is on Thomas. That's his
Sixth
second.
man of the year in the Big 12 last year, Jackson Robinson, I think one of the most pivotal players for the Kentucky Wildcats because he's an extension of Mark Pope. He knows what Coach Mark Pope wants. So as they have a roller coaster type of a year, he keeps the core group intact.
They've also showed him a lot of film of how teams are defending him and the pressure they're trying to show him and test his ball handling skills.
What a pass.
Dive inside as Brandon Garrison rocks the rim.
Big fella.
He looked like a point guard there. Boyles with his back to the basket against Carr. Trying to get some more space, but Carr walled up and got the block. Here's Trent Noah. A fight for the board and a foul called against South Carolina. Once again, Robinson grabbing at that wrist.
Yeah, well, this is not the league where you want to have injuries because there's no mercy, right? They're going to continue to be physical, and quite frankly, in the SEC, when other teams see that, then they're going to test you. Same thing going on with Janai Broome at Auburn, coming back from that ankle injury. Teams are going to continue to test him to see just how healthy you are. It's a gauntlet of a league.
When you say test, what would you have done back in the day when you knew a guy was coming in with an injury?
Well, I would have had a conversation with him first. I would say, how's that wrist? Jackson Robinson, you feeling okay? Then I would have, when the official wasn't looking, kind of tagged it a little bit. Maybe hit it on the jump shot.
There's Pringle with the steal. Out in front, Cam Scott throws it down.
Careless turnovers right now by the Kentucky Wildcats. That's what hurt them on the road in Ole Miss in the first half. They've got to do a better job of being more judicious in valuing the basketball.
Garrison caught a body. He has come to play here at Rupp.
Kobe Wright and Nick Pringle arguing with one another on that ball screen. It's got to be better communication. Just really a good pass by Lamont Butler.
Boyles trying to go right back at Garrison. Gives it up, right three. There's a good offensive set for South Carolina.
Man, huge. Jacoby Wright took as big as strides as anyone in the SEC last year. One of the league's most improved players. The staff said they need more from him, and bigger than anything is just doing what he did, knocking down shots.
Garrison, everything is working. His first three, and he leads the way with 15 points.
We talk about the fact that Kentucky is one of the best offensive teams. You saw Jamari Thomas go down, and that allows the screen and roll, and then Lamont Butler once again with a nice finish on the interior. Kentucky's so good offensively, this handoff has to be treated as a screen, and of course Garrison knocked down that three-pointer.
So a technical foul was just called. As Thomas hit the first, it was called against Garrison. And Thomas knocks down both technical free throws. We did not see it. We will come back and show you what happened to cause Brandon Garrison to get called for the tech. We'll be back in a minute. We went to break. A technical foul was called against Brandon Garrison for taunting. Fish, walk us through what happened after he nails his three.
Well, listen, first of all, he's playing one of his best games of the year. He knocks down this three-point shot, and that's where it needs to end. See, you can't have that gun sign with your fingers. You just have to be more mature than that. And Brandon Garrison, a former McDonald's All-American, started 29 of 32 games at Kentucky. I mean, he was efficient, blocked shots, just had a tremendous career. And I think, and you can tell the look on his face, he knows the young fella messed up, so give him a break. But that's the kind of immaturity that you can't have as a sophomore. He'll learn from that. He'll do better in the future. But listen, this is an 11-point game. You can't afford to have plays like that going forward. I'm sure Coach Mark Pope told him about that. He'll learn from that, and he'll do better in the future.
Talk about his season high today of 15 points. His career high last year as a freshman, 21 points at Oklahoma State against BYU.
One of the reasons why Mark Pope's got him here. He said, that guy's pretty good. Let's put you on my team this year instead of going against you.
Funny how that happens, right? You have a good game, and all of a sudden you change uniforms.
And you think about that three-point shot. He only shoots about 27-28% from the three-point line. So that's a huge three for Brandon Garrison. But if you're the Gamecocks right now, you take advantage as Kentucky shows a little bit of three-quarter court pressure, man-to-man.
I mean, Fish, South Carolina can cut this to a single-digit deficit with a bucket here.
Yep. Hard to imagine it does not go to Colin Murray Boyles here. There it is.
Brea trying to double down, now escapes. Murray Boyles trying to spin. 6 on the shot clock to work with, and a foul called against Carr as he was tangled up with Pringle. And for Andrew Carr of Kentucky, that'll be his 4th personal. And so it looks like the officials.
Andrew Carr is signaling that he felt like he was held. So we'll see.
Was it a hook and hold? So now the officials will go to the monitor and take another look at that play as Carr and Pringle were tangled up.
Jeb Hartness, Orlandis Poole, Patrick Evans, guys who have been doing this for a very long time. And they're discussing it now. A potential huge play here, though. You just talked about the fact that
the previous play is under further review for a hook and hold.
You just talked about the fact that the Gamecocks could potentially cut this lead. And so this is a huge play with 10:47 left to go.
All right, let's take another look at that last play. Top left of the screen underneath in the paint.
I'm glad that the officials are still looking at this. This is a play that they wanted to take out of the game and doing a good job of taking it out of the game. Look, that's an example of the battle that goes on if you watch those two in the SEC for every rebound. And right now.
So is that a hook? Oh, and then he gets dragged down.
Yeah.
Was it a hook and hold? Not sure.
Well, we'll leave that up to the officials, but there was an initial hook by Nick Pringle, and then there was a hook by Andrew Carr that took both of them down. So we'll see what this officiating crew comes back with. Take a look again. Both guys down there battling. Right now, this is nothing. This is just, that's the first hook right there by Nick Pringle. And then when Andrew Carr is hooked, he kind of grabs on the Nick Pringle going down. So that initial hook was established by Nick Pringle, and maybe Andrew Carr was just trying to hold on as he was starting to fall down. We'll see which way this call goes.
So initially on the floor, it was called a foul on Andrew Carr, his 4th personal. But let's see if anything changes as the officials go to the monitor. Still taking a look. This is the longest review we have had so far today.
Well, you were the one talking about it was such a quick game.
You know, of course, when you have a flight, someone's going to mention time of game, and that's going to disturb things a little bit.
All right, let's see what they come up with.
They're going to continue to take more looks at this last play to see if it was, in fact, a hook and hold. Remember that guy who came up to me before the game, talked about I can get a free detail? He came back to me because he knew that I mentioned it on the broadcast. He said, I'm serious. I will hook you up anytime. I'm like, bro, I don't have a car here in Lexington. I always just get a rental. So somebody please cash it in for me. Go get a free detail. Go to Tornado Shine. I don't get paid for this. I'm not getting a dime out of this. But somebody should get hooked up here in Lexington.
Told you, Kentucky fans, here we go.
After further review, we have a common foul on White 7.
So they stay with the initial call of a common foul on Andrew Carr. And that is his 4th personal as he stays on the floor for Kentucky.
We talked about how well Big Blue Nation fans know the game of basketball. Their Blues were saying, let's go ahead and get the game started again. And so that's what we're doing now.
So now Lamont Paris wants further explanation. And now we are getting back to playing. Murray Boyles to a strong left hand, and the lead is now down to 9.
Tell you what that did. That took the air out of this arena for sure. Let's see if Big Blue Nation gets back involved. An opportunity for the Gamecocks if they continue to stay hot on this end defensively.
And Ansley Almanor taps on his chest, my bad.
Colin Murray Boyles, a top 20 pick according to our ESPN mock draft. Don't expect him to be here next year with a nice, easy basket. And remember, 14-3 run when he goes out with the second foul in the first half.
They tried to get Garrison back on the floor, but he did not get to the scoring table in time. Right, probing off the bounce, off balance, throws it to the side, and a turnover. Oweh in transition, got it.
Key words, in transition. Once again, all stimulated from the stop. We talked about the Gamecocks getting hot defensively. If the Wildcats want to pull away, they've got to get hot on this end as well.
Repost with Murray Boyles. Working one-on-one against Almanor. Rolls off the rim, rebound to Kentucky.
Good defense. Kentucky right now digging late, so they're not immediately going to the double team. They're waiting until he puts the basketball on the floor to disrupt Colin Murray Boyles.
Williams being patient, taking his time, letting the defense clear out. One-on-one off the window and off the mark.
Solid by Nick Pringle. Plenty of time now for the Gamecocks to still play their style. 8-1 when their opponents are score 70 or less.
Right, off the bounce, stopped inside. Murray Boyles creating space, but he misses.
This is when I would anticipate one of those Mark Pope sets that he runs.
Oweh with the Euro, and it rolls out.
They felt like Oweh had a mismatch.
But he gets it back! Oweh! No way!
BBN likes the way you used it better than I used it, Trill.
Here comes BBN. Murray Boyles is bumped on the outside as Williams called for his third. Oweh.
Can I get it one more time from you, Shrimp?
He
I like how
couldn't
you
get
did
the
it.
first one, but he said, I'm going to stick around. I'm going to be a little patient. Give me this. At the rim, Oweh. No way. Represent.
Nice.
Oh, he's going to do his thing.
Well, we talked about physical. It's not quite that physical in the SEC. You know, Coach Green was talking about Michigan State and the job that they've done. Tom Izzo, the last one to win a national championship in the Big Ten, competing for a Big Ten title this year as well. You think about the likes of them and Purdue, obviously. This is going to be an interesting finish out. By the way, that 2 that they called from Oweh was confirmed to be a 3.
And here is another look at it as we take a look at the feet getting set, and they're both behind the line.
Yeah.
So add another point on the board for Kentucky. Murray Boyles, it comes out, so he misses the front end of the 1-and-1.
Yeah, right now, Gamecocks just have not been able to chip away.
Brea, the lob pass. Oh, and Williams throwing it down on somebody's head.
Kentucky and their decision making has been excellent. Watch on the handoff, which is just like a ball screen here. See Jamari Thomas on that opposite side. He's got to get down there and help. Nick Pringle doesn't have time to get back, but that's great precision and execution by Kobe Brea off of this handoff. Again, Jamari Thomas, you've got to sit down there and help and give Nick Pringle time to get back. He doesn't. Amari Williams with the fabulous finish up top.
How about that poster?
Maybe
and one.
Amari Thomas said, I don't want that smoke. I'm going to stay out here.
That blue smoke that was coming out of the tunnel pregame. South Carolina scoreless and over 3 minutes on the floor. And Pringle lost the handle, but they say it stays here.
Yeah, Nick Pringle just still trying to figure out his role, his game. And again, this is a challenging time for South Carolina with Colin Mary Boyles on the sideline.
There's Ugasuk. Off the mark today. He was 0 for 4 from the floor and has not scored.
Well, and that's what South Carolina has to have. You've got to get more from your role players. And you airball that shot. He's a career 38% three-point field goal shooter. 43% is what he's shooting on the year. You've got to get more.
Backdoor cut. There goes Butler plus the foul.
Kentucky is back once again to their efficient offensive execution. Nice slip. You see Lamont Butler, boom. He slips and goes to the basket, and that's what I meant when I said in the first half, the transition's still there, and their sets, their offensive execution is still there. Their defense has to continue to come along as it has in this afternoon's game.
Fish, Kentucky's opened up their largest lead of the game now, up 20. A lot of questions about the Wildcats. With their health, protecting the ball. And defensively, they are locking down today. Butler gets it back, plenty of time on the shot clock, and Garrison thought he was going up with it. Turnover.
A little rust by Butler. You see the smile on his face. The point guard, you got to remember, has been out a few games, and in spite of having that left shoulder injury, I think he's played really good basketball today. Just his presence. He's only got 6 points, but he's got 3 assists. Defensively, he's been solid. He is simply the head of the snake on this team, and his presence has been felt.
Under 7 minutes to play here in the second half. What do you need to see here from South Carolina?
Well, it's a challenge because they're not a team that usually plays up-tempo style. And what you just asked for, that's about the best thing that they can do, which is try to get to the free throw line to stop this clock, to increase their amount of possessions in this basketball game. And Jamari Thomas, the transfer from Norfolk State, he's the one that's been trying to get to the free throw line all game.
He's a guy who's averaged over 17 points per game in the last 3 games. And there's his 8th point of the day. Super Bowl Sunday starts with a women's basketball triple header. First, Stanford and Louisville tip it off at noon Eastern right here on ESPN2, followed by number 2 South Carolina taking on number 4 Texas. That's on ESPN. And at 4 Eastern, number 6 LSU hosting number 19 Tennessee. How about that South Carolina-Texas matchup?
Oh, my goodness. And Rick Schaefer has come into the SEC with the splash. He'll be ready. His Longhorns will be ready as well. That's going to be an outstanding matchup against the Don State.
Here's Brea. And the follow slam by Oweh. Field goal drought continues for South Carolina. It's now over 4.5 minutes.
This is when you got to have somebody like Colin Murray Boyles that gets a touch. He's got a mismatch on Jackson Robinson. No way he doesn't get a touch on that. Because you've struggled so much, get some inside-out action and let your All-American touch the basketball.
Oweh starting to cook. He's got 11 points. He's now the only player in SEC play this season to score in double figures in every single contest. Davis, 3-ball. South Carolina needed that field goal bad. Timeout, Lamont Paris. And we will take a quick 30-second break as Oweh starting to cook.
Yeah, Otega Oweh is starting to cook, and so are the Wildcats, beginning to look like the team that knocked off the Duke Blue Devils, the Zags, Louisville, Tennessee, A&M, and Mississippi State. When the Wildcats are playing like this, good give and go, the Wildcats can compete and beat anybody in college basketball.
All right, here's the NBA Saturday primetime game on ABC and ESPN+. It's a big Eastern Conference matchup between Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown on the Celtics against Jalen Brunson and my New York Knicks. Coverage begins with NBA Countdown at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. Can anyone dethrone Boston in the East?
You got to look at the Cleveland Cavaliers playing as good as anybody in the NBA right now. And how about the trade deadline and Luka, Anthony Davis, former Kentucky Wildcat, a lot moving. I'm anxious to see what the All-Star game looks like in the NBA this year.
I know a lot of people scratching their heads with that trade, but I think that's a good trade for Dallas. Anthony Davis, the way he runs the floor with that size, his defensive pressure.
Yeah, Anthony Davis has proven to be one of the better players in the NBA as long as he can stay healthy. If he can do that, it'll certainly be a nice trade. And Dallas wants to win right now. That's the decision that they're making, as does the Kentucky Wildcats today.
Oh, well, they're making a statement here today as Lamont Butler, after missing his last 3 games, getting the start here today at Rupp Arena. As Kentucky a 20-point lead with just under 5.5 to play. Here is Butler on that handoff, working with Williams again.
What a save.
Brea spinning, dealing in the lane, and finishes. Brea now in double figures. He's got 10 to go along with 6 assists, which is a career high for him.
Yeah, he might be their silent assassin, showing me today that he's so much more than a shooter, whether he's distributing the basketball, posting up on the dribble drive, mid-range jump shot.
Butler, the 7-footer, missing from deep, gets his own miss. He went with a no-look pass and a turnover.
Good sportsmanship by Zachary Davis, helping one of the fans up over here. Oh, there's a little man, a little guy down there. One thing we haven't seen from South Carolina is a change in defense. A lot of times they'll run a matchup zone or 1-3-1. They decided in this game today just to go man-to-man.
Butler once again using that screen from Williams. And that little push-through dribble drew the foul on Thomas, his 3rd.
And that's where Lamont Butler is so critical. So for Kentucky, you wonder what you asked me earlier, what you missed. You always have to have a guy in college basketball that can put the defense at a disadvantage, that can get the defense broken, get by his man at any time he wants to. For Kentucky, there's really 2 guys that do that extremely well, Lamont Butler and Otega Oweh. But Lamont Butler, as a point guard, is better at making decisions whether to score or to distribute the basketball much better than Otega Oweh.
That's what they challenged him early on in the season. Mark Pope said that's the next step in his evolution. He's known as a defensive stopper. He's known as a guy who can take care of the ball. Now, can you make good decisions and make everyone else around you better?
Sure. Lamont Butler having a perfect game, literally perfect. Didn't miss a shot earlier this season. It's over 30 points. And I think Big Blue Nation appreciates him playing with a rough and rugged left shoulder. Didn't show much today that it was hurting him. I thought it was impressive.
And you can see the wrap, the big wrap bulging out of his shirt underneath that left shoulder. Push inside, called against Kentucky. That'll go against. It's on Brea, his first personal.
Yeah, nice job. Patrick Evans caught Kobe Brea trying to hold on to Cam Scott, going around those screens.
Got a full slate of college basketball games today. Janai Broom and #1 Auburn hosting Walter Clayton and #6 Florida. That's at 4 Eastern on ESPN2. Then at 6:30 Eastern, Dickie V back on the call for Cooper Flagg and #2 Duke taking on Clemson. Dickie V, college basketball, we love you, we need you. Welcome back.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back, Dickie V. Can't wait to watch that game alongside our partner, Corey Alexander, as well.
Williams with the patience, left it short, but a foul on the rebound will stay here.
In college basketball, that when they get ahead, they're tough to come back against. Kentucky Wildcats in Big Blue are one of them, up 22.
That it is swag surfing time here at Rupp. DJ's got this place rocking. It is always special coming here to Lexington, Kentucky.
Yeah.
There are basketball venues, and then there's Rupp Arena.
No doubt about it. You know, they're one of the best, if not the best, in all of college basketball. And, you know, the team she just mentioned, Michigan State, one of the best as well. There's just certain blue bloods that will always be a staple in college basketball, but it is more challenging for them. Even the chess move that Tom Izzo made, putting Trey Holman back in that starting lineup, is what got them going. And I think the chess move for Mark Pope, putting Lamont Butler back in the starting lineup, because as a player, you can come off with an injury and it takes you a little while to get going. He was warmed up, he was ready to go, and it set the tone from the tip for the Kentucky Wildcats, Shrew.
They're also doing this with Andrew Carr coming off the bench. He's a guy who's still dealing with that back injury, playing through the pain.
Oh, they caught it.
Oh, they caught us.
Hey, you always got to watch, man. The camera's always on you. Know that, kids at home.
I'm telling you. You get a vibe going in any arena in America, and I am here for it. I will have myself a good time.
No doubt. Well, Kentucky Wildcat fans have had a good time because they have now reached the number 70 if they're able to go over. That's the big difference for the Gamecocks, who came in 8-1 when they were able to hold teams to 70 or fewer. And we'll look at the offense, but Kentucky got this done defensively. They've held South Carolina to only 21% from behind the free throw line or three-point line, and from the field goal, only 32%.
Here's Oweh jumping the passing lane. And he'll lay it in. Williams behind the play was looking for something special.
Well, this is what Kentucky has to do. They have to start enjoying, start loving defense like they do offense. And Jamari Thomas doing a nice job once again at just trying to chip away, getting back to that free throw line.
So the foul called on Amari Williams, his 4th personal. If you're South Carolina, where do you go from here? Obviously, it's been a tough start to conference play. 0-9 coming in. 3 just heartbreaking losses.
Sure. You do exactly what that coach right there is doing. You continue to chip away. You continue to get better. You continue to grind. This league is an unforgiving league in the SEC. They've got winnable games coming up. Ole Miss is playing as good as anybody in the SEC. Obviously tough at Florida. LSU, Texas, at Missouri. The surprise of the SEC, I would say, in a lot of people's opinion, didn't surprise me. But every single practice, every single game, you continue to work and get better. This is important. You see this 5th longest losing streak to open SEC play since 1991, after breaking all types of records and being SEC Coach of the Year last year. It happens like that. You've got to continue to fight through.
Well, we definitely felt the positivity in practice yesterday. Lamont Paris preaching to his team. It's about the back 9, knowing that it's not done just yet. They can still make something happen here in the SEC. But a tough one here today as Kentucky getting back healthy. Amari Thomas with the steal going against Noah, and he'll be fouled.
When you mentioned schedules, you know, SEC had one of the toughest schedules, not only in the SEC to open up league play, which is the best conference in college basketball, also makes it the toughest schedule over those last 9 games of anybody. And as far as SEC schedules, the Crimson Tide have had the easiest schedule in the SEC, but I still love the Crimson Tide. Man, are they deep. They're getting better. Coach Nate Oates has competed for the SEC championship, was the last man standing last year at that run to the Final Four. And the schedule upcoming for Alabama will only make them better.
A lot of the talk now is because SEC is so deep and so stacked, how many teams will get in when it comes time for the big dance? Joe Lunardi currently has 13 teams getting in the SEC. And some people may look at that and say, whoa, 13? But
sure. Well, that's
not a stretch.
Two things. One, the best winning conference percentage historically ever. I think it was 88 or 89%. Every team, you had 2 of the last undefeated teams in this conference, Tennessee and Oklahoma. Second of all, the Pac-12 no longer exists, so you're going to have additional bids from power conferences from somewhere. I would think the committee chooses the best league in college basketball.
Brea off the mark and a foul on the rebound as Murray Boyles goes to the deck. And we take a look at all the teams that our Joe Lunardi has predicted to get into the tournament from the SEC, with still the second half of the conference schedule to come.
Which is huge, right? So for Kentucky right now, as a 4 seed, you look at those opportunities as a chance to increase your seeding, to get better so you can try to hang another banner. For teams on the other side that are in the lower part, your Texas, Oklahoma, your Vanderbilt, and Georgia, you've got ample opportunities to secure your status. But with those opportunities come challenges. And so that means you're going to face some Auburns, some Alabamas, some Tennessees, Kentuckys. So you have to continue to be prepared.
Listen to Joe Lunardi this week. He talked about it's not just going to be difficult for the selection committee to decide how many teams, but also where do you put them? Because you don't want the SEC playing each other too early in the bracket. So it's going to be a challenge to figure out where they're all going to go.
There's some teams you don't want to play. Some Iowa State, some St. John's, Michigans, Dukes. I'm going to try to avoid those teams.
Jacoby Wright as Brea called for the foul. If you're looking for the Miami-Louisville game, it is currently started on ESPN News, and it'll come here to ESPN2 as soon as we finish up here at Rupp Arena. Stepping aside, we'll be back to Lexington after this quick 30-second break. Kentucky, this was the get-right game as they are getting back on track and getting healthy again, with Butler getting the start here today. And let's take a look at the upcoming schedule for the Kentucky Wildcats. Whew. And look at that game on Tuesday. ESPN against the 4th-ranked team in the country, Tennessee.
Must-watch TV, obviously a rivalry game, but the fact that Kentucky was able to go into Knoxville and beat Tennessee. Coach Rick Barnes will be wanting to come back. Never easy to win at Texas. The Commodores and Mark Byington doing a fantastic job this year. Another surprise team. And then at Bama, who's always tough at Coleman Coliseum, and at Oklahoma, who could be needing that game to continue to secure an NCAA tournament bid. That's not an easy schedule.
It is going to be very interesting down the stretch in SEC play when you see those teams who are either on the outside looking in or last 4 in desperation mode to get that spot.
We see the 1-3-1. We saw it a couple of possessions ago. The first change that we've seen really this game, and worked well a couple of times in the bench points. Look at that, 34-4. That's the difference in this basketball game, and it's worth repeating that with Lamont Butler inserted in the starting lineup, that you had more of a pop from guys like Garrison, Brea, and Andrew Carr.
Go inside of Murray Boyles, a nice little touch pass to Scott. He'll fire from 3. And South Carolina 4 for 20 from downtown here today. 9-point lead for Kentucky as they run some clock, and Oweh's crossover draws the reach-in foul on Murray Boyles.
Well, Mark Pope in his first year really didn't have a lot of time to get this team assembled. And you know, as much as I know Kentucky fans wanted to be able to knock off Coach Cal in Arkansas, I think Mark Pope has done a sensational job. Now, we don't know how the finish is going to go, but when you talk about coming into this league, the best year of SEC basketball ever, with wins in your pocket, like Tennessee, like Texas A&M, non-conference, like the Zags, your arch rival in Louisville, Pat Kelsey doing a nice job along with the Duke Blue Devils. I don't know if it could have went any better for Big Blue Nation and Coach Mark Pope up to this point.
Subs coming in for Kentucky as Colin Chandler and Travis Perry will check in for the first time. Under 2 minutes to play here in Lexington, Kentucky. Pull-up elbow jumper and right hands it. He's in double figures now with 10. I mean, there was a moment in this game, it was a 9-point game, and it felt like South Carolina just needed a big shot. They missed a 3, and ever since then, Kentucky has not let up.
Yeah. And their magic number was 70 against an elite offensive team that was averaging 84, 85 points in league play coming into this basketball game. So with Kentucky, I believe you've got to score 70 to beat them, which is why I think they have a nice ceiling, because if they continue to improve defensively, their offense is good enough to compete for a championship. Defense has a ways to go.
Chandler open from the wing, and it's Noah passing the glass for the putback.
Noah, the 6'5", 220-pound freshman, hometown kid out of Harlan, Kentucky. Something else that Coach Mark Pope has done, bringing guys back from the state of Kentucky. He knows Kentucky basketball. Won a national championship as a player.
What a game for Garrison today. Season high 15 points, 7 of 8 from the floor. Noah will pull it. Okay. Noah getting it going.
Outstanding showing by the Kentucky Wildcats. Took them a little bit to get going, kind of like the snowball effect, as Jacoby Wright showed some positive signs, knocking down that mid-range jump shot. But we had some questions about the Kentucky Wildcats. A lot were answered, and they were answered a lot with Lamont Butler coming back. Not huge numbers, but his presence was felt, and the Kentucky Wildcats were a much better team, therefore.
Final seconds here at Rupp Arena. It's been all Kentucky today. It is now a final. Kentucky Wildcats with an 80-57 win over South Carolina. The largest win in conference play this season as the Wildcats improved to 500 here in the SEC. For my partner Damian Fishback, all of our outstanding ESPN crew, I'm John Schrippen. Now we send you to Louisville, hosting Miami Hurricanes. West Durham, Dan Bonner, it's all yours.